We're celebrating the life and legacy of civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This year, groups across the nation are marking the day with large demonstrations protesting the Ferguson and Staten Island grand jury decisions. But one event hopes to make a difference using prayer. Joining me now to talk about this is Bishop E.W. Jackson. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you said you wanted to have your event without protest. Why is that?
Because we think it's important to bring the community together with police. You know, the mantra we're hearing is Black Lives Matter, absolutely true, but police lives matter, brown lives matter, white lives matter. We've got to come together, and chanting for the murders of police is not a way to bring that about, and that sort of set the tone for these demonstrations.
Now, you had a breakfast this morning, and one of the things you wanted to do was honor police officers. Why?
Well, we started this after 9/11, when we realized almost 1 in 5 of the people who died in 9/11 were first responders, 135 police officers, and we decided we're no longer going to wait for police officers to die before we say thank you. So every year we say thank you. Look, we're not saying police are perfect, but we're saying that they serve us, they try to protect us from danger, and we ought to do more than just carp when we think something's going wrong. We ought to honor and respect them for what they do on a daily basis.
Now, when you have these events and you're honoring police officers for their effectiveness and their good job, how are they responding?
They really appreciate it. I mean, you'd be surprised. We created a prayer card for police officers as an encouragement to them. We gave a plaque to our sheriff's department, our police department. We had police officers come up afterwards and say, thank you. I was supposed to be here. I needed to hear this. And by the way, these were Black and Hispanic as well as white police officers. They're simply trying to serve our community. They're not trying to hurt anybody.
Now, there is indeed a growing racial divide, or at least it appears that way here in the United States. How do we as Christians contribute to healing that division?
Well, I think we've got to first, as Christians, come together, don't we? We've got to first say to one another, look, Christ loves us all. He died for us all. He shed his blood for us all. We've got to demonstrate to the world what it means to come together as one. And we're encouraging that. We're going to hold a National Service of Reconciliation in Washington, D.C. We're going to encourage pastors. One's going to happen in Virginia Beach before too long, to come together, Black, white, Hispanic. And here again, say to the world, look, we can come together as Americans, and the church is going to lead the way.
We have a film out right now, Selma, that is highlighting some of the work of Dr. Martin Luther King. And of course, we're honoring him here this holiday. Really curious, your thoughts. Are things better now or worse now because we're seeing massive protests erupt again here in our country?
Well, I think the protests are frankly based on a myth that things aren't better. Things are better. Clearly, I just named in my speech today, I named 5 of many Black CEOs of major corporations, UPS, Microsoft, Xerox. 50 years ago, this was unthinkable. And you could just go down the line. But obviously, many of us are caught in poverty. But I believe that it is in part at least a state of mind. If you're told you can't make it, they won't let you, the system's rigged against you, then the things that you and I and others are doing from the Black community becomes a distant possibility for them. I want to say to young people, no, it's just as possible for you as it is for me, because if God is for you, no one can successfully be against you.
If you could have the ear of some of those protesters who are protesting grand jury decisions and feeling that wrong has been done for those lives lost, what would you say to them?
I would say to them, we grieve the life of any person who dies tragically, and these are tragic deaths. But I would also say Dr. King began with prayer. He began in the church. He preached peace, nonviolence, because he knew that when the problem is solved, the future must be faced, and we've got to face it together.
Now, we have today, of course, the holiday, and many people praying. What do you think happens when we get up off our knees? What should we be doing next?
I think we got to reach out. The person who performed the benediction for our event said, grab the hand of somebody who's not like you. And then don't just do that for this breakfast, but do that in your life. You know, I think when people say we need to have a dialogue about race, I think we have to have a dialogue about sin. I think we have to talk about loving one another and treating one another the way we want to be treated, which was what Christ's instruction to us was. And I think if we'll do that, the rest of the discussions will all fall into place.
Let's point the world to Christ.
Amen.
Indeed. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.